In a quiet town surrounded by rolling green hills and endless blue skies lived a boy named Ethan. The town was small, with only one grocery store, a few diners, and a school that everyone in town attended. People here lived simple lives. Most followed in the footsteps of their parents. If your father was a mechanic, you became one. If your mother worked at the diner, chances were you would too. His biggest dream? To become an engineer and design machines that could make life easier for people. However, in his town, dreams like Ethan's were often met with skepticism. "You're just a small-town boy," his father would say. "People like us don't build things. We fix what's already broken." His classmates would tease him too. "Why don't you just stick to what everyone else does?" They'd laugh. "You think you're going to be the next big inventor?" Each time someone doubted him, it hurt. But deep inside, Ethan refused to let go of his dream. He didn't know how, but he was determined to prove them wrong. One day, after school, Ethan heard about an old man named Mr. Carter who lived at the edge of town. Rumors said he had once been a famous engineer in the city, but had moved to the countryside after retirement. Curious, Ethan decided to visit him. He nervously knocked on the door, unsure if the old man would even entertain his questions. To his surprise, Mr. Carter welcomed him in. The two quickly bonded over a shared love of innovation. Ethan told Mr. Carter about his dream of designing machines that could help people. The old man smiled. "Ethan, do you know the only difference between those who succeed and those who don't?" Ethan shook his head. "It's belief," Mr. Carter said. "The first step to achieving anything is believing you can. People will doubt you. Obstacles will come. But if you believe in yourself, nothing can stop you." That day, Ethan left Mr. Carter's house with a renewed determination. Ethan began working harder than ever. After school, he spent hours at the library, studying books on engineering and problem solving. He didn't have expensive tools or teachers to guide him, so he made do with what he had. He collected scraps from his father's garage and started building small machines, testing ideas he had read about. But life was tough. His family struggled financially, and one evening, his father sat him down and said, "Ethan, we need you at the garage full-time. Dreams don't put food on the table." Ethan's heart sank. He understood his father's worries, but how could he give up on something that meant everything to him? Determined not to let his dream die, he found a way to balance both. He worked at the garage during the day and studied late into the night. Some nights, exhaustion threatened to break him, but he reminded himself of Mr. Carter's words. "If you believe in yourself, nothing can stop you." One day, Ethan's teacher announced a nationwide innovation competition for young inventors. The challenge was to design a machine that could solve a real-world problem. The winner would receive a full scholarship to a prestigious engineering university. Ethan saw this as his chance. For weeks he worked tirelessly, pouring every ounce of energy into his project. His idea, a device that could generate electricity from everyday movement, something that could help communities without access to power. The journey wasn't easy. Parts broke, designs failed, and doubt crept in. There were nights he wanted to give up, but he kept reminding himself, "I believe in myself. I can do this." Finally, the day of the competition arrived. Ethan traveled to the big city for the first time. The competition hall was massive, filled with students from across the country. Many of them had access to expensive tools, mentors, and resources Ethan could only dream of. For the first time, fear crept in. "What if I'm not good enough?" he thought. But then he remembered Mr. Carter's advice. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward and presented his invention. He spoke with passion, explaining how his device could change lives for people in remote areas. The judges listened intently, impressed by his creativity and determination. The audience was silent, hanging on to every word as Ethan demonstrated how his invention could generate electricity from simple human movement, allowing communities without access to power to have light, charge devices, and improve their daily lives. After what felt like hours, the judges finally announced the winners. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as the names were called. Then the words he had been hoping for. "And the grand prize goes to Ethan Parker." For a moment he stood frozen. Had he really done it? The crowd erupted in applause. His vision blurred with tears as he stepped onto the stage to receive his award. The scholarship meant he could now attend one of the top engineering universities, something he had only dreamed of before. Tears welled in his eyes as he looked into the crowd and saw his father standing there. His father, the man who once told him dreams didn't put food on the table, was clapping. There was pride in his eyes, something Ethan had longed to see. When Ethan returned home, his father hugged him for the first time in years. "I was wrong," his father admitted. "You proved me wrong, son. I am proud of you." Ethan smiled. "I believed in myself. And now, I want others to do the same. Years later, Ethan became a renowned engineer, designing groundbreaking technologies that improved lives around the world. His invention had been implemented in rural communities, providing sustainable energy solutions to people who had once lived in darkness. His name was now known far beyond the small town he had come from. One day he returned home and visited Mr. Carter. "I did it," Ethan said, smiling. "I always knew you would," the old man replied with a proud grin. They sat on the porch together, looking at the same small town that once told Ethan his dreams were impossible, but he had proved them all wrong. Now, Ethan dedicated his life to inspiring others. He spoke at schools, mentored young inventors, and helped kids from small towns realize that they too could dream big. "Your circumstances don't define your potential," he would tell them. "If you believe in yourself and work hard, you can achieve anything. Now, I ask you, what dream have you been holding on to, waiting for the right moment to chase? Do you believe in yourself enough to fight for it? What's stopping you? जितने prompts बनी चाहिए, इतने बना के दे दो, scenes के हिसाब से ज़्यादा ना दो. And don't miss any single word of the script, okay? Don't do anything.